Robbo, no doubt it's been an emotional week for the club. We've reflected on Jake Friend's career. How would you sum up Jake Friend in one word?
Ooh, warrior. That's without a doubt. That's what he's been for us, and the way that he's played all of those 260 odd games. That's he set the tone for how we play the game here.
Warrior, he's so tough. Is there something a memory that sticks out for you when you think of Friendy's career?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. He's that teammate that everybody remembers for doing their job. So if they didn't do theirs, Friendy was there, and he's just an amazing teammate. But this is probably not for these things, but I'm going to tell it anyway. As soon as you asked me that, I saw him sitting there with a couple of litres of blood coming out of his lungs after a game, and he almost, if he didn't call an ambulance, he would have drowned the night before, and a couple of weeks later he's back on the field doing what he does. That's my memory of Friendy, and it was no big deal, but it was a huge deal, and that sums up Friendy.
Robbo, in saying that, how hard do you think this decision was for him? Because he is the ultimate team man. He would have never wanted to let the team down, but had to come to this decision. So how hard was it?
Yeah, talking with Jake, it was the hardest decision, and it was the simplest decision. That's what it ended up being. It was it's hard for someone like him to say stop. I'm done. I'm going to stop playing. I'm going to stop what I love doing and all that I know. But it was also an easy decision on squeezing that lemon one last time for a couple of more drops, and the risk of that. It wasn't worth it. But it was tough for Friendy because of the way that he is.
Trent, you was talking about that meeting that you were going to have, you, Jake, and the club doctor. Can you just run us through how that sort of meeting went down? Did you come in sort of knowing the result, or did you sort of take the advice? How did it sort of go?
Yeah, the three of us sat down and we looked at each other, and we all knew sort of what had to be said, and it took a little while for us to get it out, but that's why I said it was quite simple in the end. We all knew what the right thing was, but it's hard to spill that out in that moment, but it did, and that's why it was quite an emotional but simple conversation.
What were you saying in that meeting?
Oh, look, I think that's between us, except I think we can all guess that it's around we'd love you to keep going, but it's also time.
It's obviously emotional, Trent, but Jake's a cheeky bugger. Was there fun involved in this week as well?
Yeah, there's always a bit of fun with Jake. Just that, well, there was the emotion that needed to be had with the players and with the staff, that just what he meant to us. But then there's also the banter that happens in footy teams that makes it light and real as well. That needed to be had. So it's been it'll be a celebration, and we're going to celebrate Jake in the right way, with a bit more distance between this week. But round 11 against the Broncos, we're really going to celebrate Jake at the SCG and what he's meant to us.
You were quite vocal, and the NRL's been quite crediting you guys for the way you handled an unknown situation with obviously with concussion. And they're sort of willing to work with you guys. That's got to be heartening in such a time for you guys.
Yeah, look, I don't know what feedback from the NRL has happened. I know that the NRL are working towards better policies when it comes to these occasions. That's a positive.
I'll actually talk to the NRL about they want to try and do this all the way through to grassroots. They're doing non-contact and those sort of things. So they're trying to move in the right direction for the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's great. So let's head in that way.
Trent, is Jake still going to be involved with the club? Has he got a role after this time?
Not as yet. We haven't sort of discussed that. Jake will always be a Rooster and be around, but that hasn't been the focus of this week. It's been more about the decision, and then talking with people and players and family, and you can imagine what happens there. But we haven't talked about what's next. Yeah, we'll get to that in due process, yeah.
Cast your mind forward, Trent, with that in mind, coaching's not cut out for everyone. Would Jake be cut out for it?
I think Jake could coach if he wanted to coach, definitely the way that his temperament is. But I also know that he's created interests outside of the sport as well in work, and to start heading towards a future career. So that, I think that's his choice.
Where do you sort of see his future? Do you think? Where do you think he'll end up?
I don't know. He's obviously started a couple of businesses outside, and we haven't got to that yet. I don't know, but I know that he's, over the course of the decade that I've known him, he's grown into his own individual. That's a really important thing. They can be football players and then fall off a cliff and then have to build themselves up again, or you can, during your career, you can create some foundation for what's next, and Jake's one of those guys. That's what he's done.
How did Jake break the news to his teammates?
Yeah, difficultly would be the way that he did that. So he just stood up in the team meeting and, in Jake's style, told it simply and bluntly that he was not going to play anymore. And yeah, he doesn't waste words, Jake, and he told it simply and as it should have been said.
Do you think that Jake is quite a good example of just how young players should be looking at studying, working otherwise, and being avenues for themselves if something like this happens?
Yeah, look, I think the first thing is we're here to play footy. So the first thing is I think Jake will be remembered in time, even in greater fondness than he is now. I know Roosters supporters love him and the players do, but the way that he went about the game was pretty unique for the amount of times that he played the game, the size of him, and so a lot of young players should look at the way that he went about playing the game and the humility that he played the game with as well. If you can see an outspoken comment or any bravado or searching for accolades in all that he's done, you won't find it. But will you see the work on field and the selflessness that he went about it with? That's Jake. So I think that people should emulate the way that he built his playing career. And then, a lot of players are doing it now. They're much better. Every sort of couple of years, players are getting better at getting started on their career. Before the end, the NRL's done an amazing job at offering that opportunities for players to study from under 20s or under 18s right through. So that's a real positive.
Is he
Sorry,
easy for all of those reasons? Is he an easy player to coach?
Yep.
The easiest, potentially. You've coached some incredible players at this club, but it's just, you don't have to do much with him. He knows what to do, both on and off the field.
Yeah, he was the easiest player to coach because when you're a coach, you build a team so you can, their character and you need different characters in the team, but you also need those players when you go to sleep at night that you know how they're going to wake up the next morning and every morning for the whole season, for season after season, and that was Jake. Couple of small words, a little bit of coaching here and there, and the man took care of himself. How to turn up for 260 odd games in the physicality that he played with, and it's obviously it's come to an end because of that as well, and that's why we should honour him in the way that he played in our jersey.
Trent, do you think the decision that Jake has come through to and the medical advice that he's got may help Boyd and in his future and deciding where to go?
Obviously, because we've gone through it before, so we've obviously had that. But it's hard to say, but there's two different cases there. There's sort of, Boyd's has been like some players that are continuing to play the game now in a small area of time. It was a small spate of injuries there, whereas Jake's has been more over a consistent period of time. So therefore the longevity of it made it an easier decision. But we're smarter than what we were a year ago. But that doesn't mean we don't want to keep going out and playing the game in the way that it should be played.
That round 12 mark is now only 8 weeks weeks away.
Yep.
Where is Boyd at?
Yeah, he's travelling well. He's training well. In the next couple of weeks, he'll start back into team training. So that's the next step. There was 3 phases, and the 3rd phase is coming up in a couple of weeks. So looking forward to getting that started.
And there would have been someone like like the likes of Jake and Boyd. We're seeing the situation with Adam Reynolds at the moment. The fairy tale, we're using our whole fairy tales purely because of the way the salary cap is and the way things are structured. Would it be good for the NRL to look at that and I guess in a way half reward fans because fans don't want to see them go. But if you put the time and effort and money into a player, should there be some sort of dispensation? That is something that would be good for clubs?
Oh, I don't. I mean, this is sport. I said I was. So Joey Johns, the ultimate player, sort of from when I watched the game and played the game, and I was there when Joey retired. I think it was after round 2 or round 3 in 2007, and it wasn't the way that an immortal should retire. But no one remembers that. I was there. If you ask somebody, they remember how he played, and that's the way that our game remembers people. Sometimes you get the fairy tale ending, and sometimes you don't. But people won't remember this week when they think of Jake. In a few weeks' time, they'll think about the 265 games that he played and the way that he played them. So, yeah, I'm not concerned about whether they happen in sort of the first couple of weeks or at the end. That's going to be sport. That's what life looks like. We can't predict the future always.
So I know the NRL is looking at restructuring the salary cap in a whole range of issues like transfer windows and all that sort of stuff, but just this particular one now, fairy tales are good for games and for the game as a whole. And I'm sort of looking at that Adam Reynolds situation. The Roosters could find themselves in that situation. Is it something you sort of think they could revise?
Oh, look.
For or against it? Is it business? Is it not?
No, I haven't thought about that in that way. So, yeah, you have to ask the NRL.
Although, how far off is Farrell?
A couple of weeks. He's a couple of weeks. So I was pretty open saying he had an operation. It would have been a week and a half ago now. So he'll start running next week and get him back out there soon.
It's good to see Victor back out there.
Yeah, it was. It was good to see him, the energy that he brings and the play that he brings is pretty important to the way that we play. So it was good to see him back out there, even though there was a bit of carry-on from him.
It always is.
Always.
What he brings off the field, like, just as important because he's such a character. He always seems like the life of the group.
Yeah, it'd be great if we could just see him for the 80 minutes and we could leave the during the week part alone. But he is vital to the way that he walks in the doors, and the way that he interacts is the way that he plays. There's no separation. There's no filter with Rads. So it was a good start from him, and we want to build him into a great player. So he just needs to keep turning up each week and bringing that energy.
Trent, when you guys were sort of talking to specialists over the last few weeks about Jake and the club doctor, obviously, was there any scenario in which he could have played on? Was there any sort of, or was it just completely out of the question?
Well, that's the thing with he could have. It could have just been a choice by the doctor and specialists, because there's not a finite answer of saying here's these reasons why you can't play, and that's why people continue to play as well. So, of course, he could have been playing 2 weeks ago if we wanted him to play, but that's where we're getting slightly better with what we know, and then you take a step back and you say what's the best for the Roosters and what's the best for Jake, and they were slightly different on this occasion. And so the best thing for Jake was to stop playing.
And the club doctor, did they come to you guys and say, this is a scenario in which you could have played? Was there sort of a scenario
No, not at all.
that you could have played on?
Tom's been amazing, our club doctor. He's a young doctor who is a very clear in what his principles are as a doctor, and he understands he wants the Roosters to win, but he also wants the best for his players. So, enough specialists, good medical advice, and then, we got the probably the answer that we all thought was coming as well.
On them?
Yeah, we're looking forward to getting back on the SCG. They obviously had a strong game last week. And looking forward to the battle. For us, it's about the second backing up after a big shift in personnel last week and a good foundation game, and we want to continue to get some experience, but also play a game that we're proud of. So we want to keep going after that, and obviously we need to combat what they're going to bring and attack the Sharks this weekend.
How much does that first game help Sam to calm the nerves? And not that he seemed like he just did his job, but how much does that help then? You've got the first one out of the way and it's like you're a first grader now.
Yeah, that's more than 2 games as well, Emma. It'll take the whole year to ride that wave and to become the player that he wants to become. But there wasn't the nerves that you often get, and there was just it was the start of what I think he knew was coming at some point. Was his NRL career, but it's important to get out there and just keep playing footy, keep building his Roosters footy, but keep being himself. So we want to support him in that, whilst the other guys around him are pushing the team standards.
This round is the first time we'll see the 18th man coming to play.
Yeah.
Any chance that Joseph will come as 18th man?
No, not this week. But that's a role for him as well. Obviously didn't play last week, which was good, and got some experience. But training well and preparing well.
How do you sort of prepare a player to sort of slot into that role?
Yeah, it's a different one. But it's so you don't prepare anybody other than having a discussion with who's going to be that 18th man. Let them know of the rules. Because we're obviously working them out this week, and then it's playing footy. So it's like being that player on the bench that doesn't get on in the first half and might get on in the second. So like any other player.
Do you know who will be your 18th man?
Not yet. We'll decide after this. Cool. Thank you.